Dollar Store, whatever has the snack bags. And what we're going to do is show you how to make a pretty quick and very easy way to make snack bags. Now you might go, why do I need a snack bag? Well, in case there's an emergency, you're going to need to give your children something to eat. Something that you all can have relatively easily that you can take with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the snack bags, and I'm going to show you a way to keep them fresh for a long amount of time. You're going to be able to leave them in your car in the wintertime, and in the summertime, put them in an area where it's going to be cool. So we're going to start out with
what you have in your cabinet right now. So the things that most of us keep in our cabinets at home: a can of oatmeal, perhaps. Some of us have oatmeal at home. Some of us may have, I don't know, some raisins that we keep in the house, right?
Good.
Some of us may have, it's cold outside. People like to bake cookies. Sometimes you have chocolate chips that are just in your cabinet at home, and you keep them there because you don't really cook that often, but when you do, you want to make some nice cookies. You may have, some of us who really like to bake and you know, do that German chocolate cake for the family reunion might have some coconut flakes sitting in the cabinet that you opened once and didn't use again. Some of us have sunflower seeds, or our children have sunflower seeds. So you may have some around the house. And sometimes you'll have some dried fruit. So these are all items, and sugar. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just to give it a little sweetness, because you have the chocolate chips and you have the fruit that you're going to use as well. And again, it's not a meal replacement, you all. It's just a little something to give to your children or for yourself in an emergency where you're not going to be able to be accessible to food relatively quickly. So Sister T is going to help me. We're going to take the sugar, and Sister T, I'm going to have you come over. I'm going to put just a little sugar in. Now you're going to say, now how's she going to mix that together? She doesn't have any butter. She doesn't have any eggs. But what we're going to use is just a little bit of corn oil, so that it'll kind of bind together.
Because again, we are looking at a situation where perhaps the electricity has gone out, and you want to remain safe at home. You don't want to have to run to the store just to get some butter. You don't want to have to run to the store to get anything, and you need to keep yourself and your family safe at home, happy, and you need to provide them with some sustenance and some nutrition.
And again, these are things that your children can help you, because you know they're definitely, now let me say this, you're preparing this not on the day you have to make a move, but today when you go home, look at your cabinet and kind of assess what you already have in there, and it's something that you can have your children do with you. So Sister T is mixing that together for us. So now we're going to take, what should we do? Cranberries? Okay, so we're going to do the cranberries. I like the cranberries as well. That was a consistent, Sister Alva. I'm sorry, it was the cranberries.
And the idea is that you don't have to be rich to be prepared.
That's right.
I don't have to be rich to be prepared. We can go home tonight and start preparing our homes if we haven't done so already. So if you take what you have in your kitchen and just start buying things every week when you go to the grocery store. We have a list. If you didn't receive it outside, we have another list of things you can have in your home. But if you start slowly, every week just get one extra item. So this week, or whatever, next payday or the next time you go to the grocery store, just get one extra box of something and add it to your supplies. And as you do that, you will be surprised how in several weeks' time, you'll be able to say, man, we really have a kit. We really have enough food to last maybe for a whole week. And then that week becomes a month, and then hopefully that month becomes 6 months. And the next thing you know, you are well prepared for whatever may happen.
I need to ask Sister T a question. Sister T, is that like a hard thing to do for you? Is it easy? Would you be able to do this by yourself? I think you can do it by herself. I do. I'll put a little of the sunflower seeds in there. Sister Alva?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you open those for me? I didn't want to do this.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
See, oh, there we go.
Praise the Lord.
So the idea, and while we're, no, this didn't open. We may need some help from the audience.
Why do they make this like you can't get in it? I'm not understanding something. It's nice like it's
As registered Muslims in the Nation of Islam, we don't have weapons, but a knife will come in handy.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just gonna do a little bit, just a little bit of the, just a little bit. Okay, so we got that. And so for those who wanted the cranberries, we're gonna do a little bit of the cranberries. Just a little bit, so mix it together.
And while they're mixing, the idea with this is, as Sister Karaya was saying, if you take it and bag it up now, one of the things that we worry about when we start talking about preparing and setting things aside, well, there's two things. One is we worry that it's going to get eaten before the emergency happens, because that does happen. But the other one is, do we want to attract pests to our homes? And the answer is no, we don't. So once we do this, with all of our preparations, what we have to keep in mind is, how do we prepare in a way that will not attract Mickey and his friends, and you all know what I'm talking about, or things with 6 legs or more. So once we do this, look, the trail mix is done already.
So we're done. It was like, what, less than 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and you have your trail mix. So say you make in about maybe a half hour or so, you do 30 bags, and you want to save them. So what you're going to do is Dollar Tree, clear container. Take the container, and again, these are not to eat while you're watching television. These are to eat in the case of emergency. And you're going to take your completed bags, and you're going to put them in your clear container so you can see what it is. And you can do one of two things. Either you can put the container in your car, because when you leave, you don't want to have to try and worry about, what do I need to put in the car? It's already in there. It's already prepared to go with the snack packs for your children or yourself, so they can go. If it's in the summertime, of course, you want to keep it in a house in a cool place. But once again, you want to be able to put it in a container where it's clear, you can see it, and the pests won't get to it.
Right. And for those of us who live in apartments and are concerned about space, using these smaller containers also helps you to find unusual places where you can keep your food. Once it's sealed, even if you have to seal it, because now they make the fancy bins that have the gaskets and the airlocks and all that. If you can't get those right now, or you have a bunch that don't do that, just seal it with tape. And you can store these under a bed, you can store them in a closet, you can store them wherever you can find space, as long as you are able to get to them in the event of an emergency. And these will last. They're not going to spoil next week. They're not going to spoil next month. You can, a year from now, you can take these out, eat them for movie night, and put some new ones in.
And say you want to just keep the items that you've used. And of course, once again, you don't want pests to get to them. Seal them. I think the greatest invention was the Ziploc bag. That's my personal thought. I love Ziploc bags. All sizes, shapes, and sizes. I really, truly do love them. So I take everything, put it in the Ziploc bag, seal it, put it in my container. Once again, a clear container so that I can see what I have available. And you may, when you have some downtime, you have a little project you want to do with the children, it's all in the container together to do. You're not running around through the kitchen saying, I can't find this, I can't find that. It's ready to go. So what we're going to do, we're going to go keep preparing a few more and let you all taste them.
There's free samples at the end of this workshop for
you like samples, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get a car, you don't get a car. I just want to say, we have a crawl space where I am. And a crawl space. And crawl spaces are great for those big plastic containers. So the issue though, for some of us, obviously if people are going to be hungry, rodents are going to be looking for food too. So they don't like spearmint. Did you know that? Right. They don't like the smell of spearmint. They don't want to be around spearmint plants. Well, obviously you're not going to have spearmint growing in your crawl space. But if you keep a canister, a little spray bottle, buy you some spearmint oil and put some water in it now and then just spray around that area. Because, they like plastic. They'll try to get in it, but I've never had an issue with that at all. And I'm just saying that's something to consider as you go back to look for your provisions and somebody else is over there snacking. Like, thank you. So that's something to do. And remember that those containers will protect your food when you have a flood. Some of them will start floating
Right.
And that's not a bad thing, but you want to make sure that your hard work doesn't float down the drain. My husband and I stored food, I'm going to tell you, years ago, and we opened it, and he said, it's still some good. And I'm like, I'm not eating that. You have to rotate it every now and then, so it's all right to enjoy what you put, and hopefully you'll never have to use it. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So while they continue, yes, sir. Yes, sir. The question was about the spearmint, and Sister Aisha was saying that it's the essential oil of spearmint. And Sister Aisha, they can find it at maybe a Whole Foods or Myers, so it's available.
A lot of affordable health food stores, Monsanto, Heritage out south, Whole Foods. Yes, and it lasts a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
And the other thing I had, because I live where these animals are, snakes. Yeah, so they don't like clove oil.
Right.
They don't like cinnamon. You can buy those things and put them in that same spray bottle with some water, and that will use your house. So they're hibernating right now.
Right, because.
And,
wait, I'm sorry. We had two questions. Yes, sir.
And just like you were saying in the other room, you were saying check the dates at the store.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying is never pick anything from the front of the shelf. It's always the oldest date. So
absolutely.
What you want to do is try your best to get to the back of the shelf and take the newer supplies that come in, because they always put the newer supplies in the back.
Absolutely. For those who couldn't hear, our brother suggested that when you are out buying your supplies, always grab the things that are toward the back, because they tend to be the newer, fresher items, and that way you can extend the life of your emergency supplies, and plus that's just a good habit to get into, so you get the fresh stuff all the time. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it's okay. I'll let somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
One more suggestion is to write a date on the top of those boxes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We're getting to that. We're getting to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't get ahead of the teachers, but yes, ma'am.
And I also want to share. I also want to share really quickly that you can also take the essential oil, the peppermint. What I do is I'll take little cotton balls or cotton swabs. Once again, Dollar Tree. They have the whole little roll of the cotton swab that you wipe with. Cut them in fours. Take a little bit, 1 or 2 drops, and put it inside of the container with your sealed bags.
Right.
So then that way, once again, you don't have the rodents, trying to get into it and eat it and all of that.
Because that's always when you prepare for long-term anything. Just this week we came across. I opened 2 boxes of canned goods that had been boxed up and stored for about 2 years, and they were fine. And the boxes, because I was concerned because it had been 2 years, I opened them and I had crumbled bay leaves in the boxes and forgot that I had done it. And at first I'm like, what is this in the bottom of this box? And then I recall the bay leaves are there to keep the pests away. So in terms of exactly. So you don't want to be in a position where there's an emergency happening outside, there's chaos and mayhem in the streets. You've got things that you've already prepared and set aside, and when you go to open them, you see that some creature has beaten you to the punch. You don't want to be in that situation. So rotate your supplies so that they don't go bad, which just means eat what you have and replace it with more. And make sure that you pest-proof as you go. Now, while they are making some different trail mixes, this one looks like it's got bananas and raisins in it and some other stuff. I want to talk about one of the things that we have in here, and the idea is to show you that it's not fancy, it's not rocket science. This is really easy to do. The dried fruit. So some of us are saying, I don't buy dried fruit. Who go out to the store and get banana chips or pineapple? Like nuts and berries? What? It is so easy to dehydrate your own food. And what you're going to see is different forms of preparedness. These are all dry. Here's one with the dried banana chips and some of the other things. You can dehydrate your foods now for preparedness purposes. One of the things that I brought that's been going up here, and I've had it going for some hours, this is a home dehydrator. And you don't have to buy one if not your thing, if that's not what you want. But I love it because it's quiet. Y'all don't hear it running. You put whatever it is in here that you want to dehydrate, And then 4 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours later, you come back with something that's properly dehydrated. You seal it up and it lasts. And I want to show you what we have. This is a jar full of dehydrated tomatoes that I keep in olive oil. You just take the tomatoes, you slice them, you put them in the dehydrator, and when they are done, now they take a long time. These take about 12 or 14 hours, but it doesn't take a lot of energy because like I said, this is very quiet. You don't even hear it running. You cover it in a jar with olive oil, you sit it on the shelf, and it's good for a year. So in an emergency, if we're talking about long-term preparedness, and you say, oh, I gotta make some soup, my family needs soup, it's cold outside, take all of the vegetables that you need. Here are some more. These are red bell peppers that I have dehydrated, some green, oh, they smell good, some green bell peppers that I have dehydrated, and this is celery. Now this was a whole entire bunch of celery, and look what it shrank down to. So when you've got these things, if you are stuck in your home and you can't get out, you need to feed yourself and your family, you can rehydrate these if you have access to water. And then you just take whatever herbs and spices you have in your home, and this is a vegetable soup, or at least the good start of a vegetable soup. And it's not that hard, it's not difficult. And we have handouts that we'll give out later that actually have instructions, so if you don't have a dehydrator, you can actually dehydrate fruits and vegetables. Just one moment, I'll get to you. You can dehydrate fruits and vegetables in your oven. So we've got a handout that teaches you how to do that. And what I want to show you real quickly, take the front off of this. And this is just a tray of apples. That's all it is. This morning I sliced them up, I dipped them in some lemon juice so that they won't turn brown. And they have been going in the dehydrator ever since. And by the time the dehydrator is done, because I'm taking this home, I'm just letting y'all know, I'm going to let it finish dehydrating. And when it's done, we'll have 3 trays of sliced apples that we can use for whatever we want to. So you can use them to give your children as snacks. You can put them in your emergency trail mix. Or if you are feeling fancy one day, it's snowing outside, you don't feel like going out of the house, not necessarily an emergency, but you just don't want to bother, you might try making something fancy by rehydrating these and mixing in some of these other ingredients. So it helps you to have options in an emergency. So
Sister Alva, what time are we on right now? How long have we been doing this?
How long have we been doing
this particular presentation?
Not long.
So, haven't been doing it very long, and I think I have maybe about 20 bags. 20 bags, maybe half hour.
Yes.
Praise you to Allah. So again, it's something simple that you can do, something that your children can help you do. And once again, put the top on it,